Hi, my name is Marina Kirakosyan and this is Lab 3.3 Biodiversity. Here is question 1. Which of your habitats has the greatest biodiversity? Does this support your hypothesis? Explain your answers. After calculating the numbers by Simpson's Diversity Index for each habitat, I found out that tropical rainforest had the most biodiversity. Second one was grasslands, then desert, and then agricultural wheatfield. Tropical rainforest was my first guess before I started doing the calculations, which did support my hypothesis. The second question is an agricultural wheatfield a monoculture? Why or why not? I do not think that agricultural wheatfield is a monoculture because not only wheat was planted and harvested in this habitat, but also we saw that different types of species were also present in this habitat. Even though the numbers were really small, they were still existing, which cannot make this habitat monocultural. The third one is, what are some of the major causes for the loss and for the increase of biodiversity in a habitat? For this question, I'm going to compare two of the habitats in this lab. First one is the tropical rainforest and the second one is the desert. When we look at the numbers in these two habitats, we see that the rainforest has more biodiversity than the desert. And in my opinion, the reason is the water. So availability of water can change the biodiversity and affect the increase or the decrease, in this case in the desert, of the biodiversity. Also, I think that introduction of species, different types of species, to a habitat can also increase or decrease the biodiversity. Question 4. If you cut down the variety in a piece of forest you own and replant it with one type of tree, what will happen to much of the wildlife that was adapted to that forest? So if I owned a forest and I cut down all the trees and I replanted it with only one type of tree, I think what would happen is some of the animals in this forest would adapt to the new trees and continue living in this forest. But unfortunately, I think most of the species would not adapt to the new situation, living in this new forest with these new trees, and I think that would die off. And do you think the fate you described for number 4 will be the fate for all the other wildlife in the habitat? Explain. I do believe that most of the wildlife in this new forest would die off, even though I thought that some of them will still adapt to the new situation in this forest and still continue living in here. I'm going to bring an example. For example, if in this tree there were aspens and different types of trees where the squirrels were living and eating off from these trees, and there were foxes and eagles that were eating the squirrels. So what's going to happen is, if these trees are gone, the squirrels are going to die off. And if the foxes and the eagles don't have the squirrels to eat to survive, then eventually these animals are going to die also. So when we cut down the whole forest of different types of trees, this is going to affect the wildlife and its food chain also, because some of these animals in the wildlife are depending on each other. Thank you.